Hi, this is Matt with Custom Car Grills. This is our video for the 2007 through 2009 Toyota Tundra. The horizontal and vertical bars will be the first thing to remove. I like using an open-ended handsaw like this one to do the cutting. The vertical bars are easy to work through and are fairly straightforward. With the three horizontal bars though, it did take a little extra patience and attention to detail. It was important to get near the edge, but it's okay to leave a little extra plastic. Dealing with the upper corners may require a couple cuts because it's difficult to get a proper angle on that specific bar. With all the bars cut, the center area should just lift right out. Next, I'm going to use some tape to create a cutting guideline. On this specific install, I'm applying a tape at a 1/2 inch depth on the surface that's going back towards the engine bay. The sides and top are easy to manage, but here's a close-up picture of the lower area that's a little harder to spot where the correct depth is. It's important to get the depth of the tape set just right, because the remaining area will be used as the frame for our mesh. Once the tape is applied, I'm going to double check my work to make sure it all looks smooth and uniform. And this looks pretty good. So I'm going to grab my Dremel and equip it with the number 543 cutting and shaping wheel. I'm just simply cutting near the tape line, maybe a 32nd of an inch under to give me a little room for error. It's very important to keep a steady hand when doing these cuts so I don't lose control of the Dremel. Like I mentioned before, it's okay to leave some extra plastic from the horizontal bar cuts, but this is now a time to clean them up a little. With the sides trimmed down, making the left and right side cuts should be a breeze, but I'm still going to leave some material to trim down later. Along the way, it's okay to do some of this in sections to make it a little bit more manageable. A good example of a section like this can be seen on the back of the grille. This side section has a little plastic connector that needs to be trimmed out before I can remove that section out. There's a few other similar connectors around the perimeter of the grille, like this one as well. With all the cuts made, the large burnt plastic bits can be picked off. Moving forward, I don't need the tape line anymore, and it can be removed and discarded. It's time to get the Dremel out again and use the same bit to do some shaping. For now, I'll be focusing back on the sides and the remaining plastic. The top of the cutting wheel is very abrasive, and by lightly pressing that to the edge of the grill, I can shave the plastic a little bit at a time. I'll be doing the same for all the edges on this grill. For anyone not familiar with using a Dremel this way, the large plastic center section that was removed earlier can be used for practice. This technique can be used with the grill facing up, but sometimes it's easier with the grill facing down. Next, the large plastic tabs that are sticking up will need to be trimmed back, and the Dremel will make short work of this. Then these supports near the upper bolts need to be shaved back to allow our mesh to be placed in. The same shaping style motion that was used earlier is effective for getting this portion done. Other supports are also found on the side, as shown here, which can be easily trimmed back. A similar but trickier cut is in the lower corners, right about here. Now it's on to do a little sanding. Typically I start with a 100 grit sandpaper and progressively work towards finer grits. This specific grill was raw, so I decided to sand the front to prep it for paint. We ended up going with a silver sky metallic finish for this project, and the color match shell is going to look great on the truck. Next, let's check out the mesh piece we have for sale on our website. It's pre-cut specifically for the 2007 through 2009 Tundra, and can be ordered plain, but it can also be accessorized with a small retro Toyota emblem such as this one, or a TRD badge can be put in the lower corner. For this specific install, we're using our laser cut 4-inch letters with a custom color matched outline. With all the proper cuts made, the mesh piece will drop right into the back of the grill with ease. To temporarily attach the mesh, I'm going to use some cable ties and some foam. The foam goes around the painted surface to protect the finish, while the tie wraps around the grill and through the mesh. With the ties, I like having the tie head on the back of the mesh like so, and then tightly fasten the tie and trim the ends. With stubborn ties that aren't pulling the mesh close enough to the grill, I sometimes use a plier or vice grip. To attach the mesh to the grill, I like using an adhesive called automotive goop. This adhesive works well for bonding mixed materials for projects like this one. For easily accessible areas, it can be used right out of the tube. But for tighter areas, I like using a small object like a toothpick to apply the goop more accurately. I used 2 full 3.7 ounce bottles for this installation, and it's important to note that I also made sure that none dripped through the front. After the adhesive is cured, the ties and foam can be removed, and then I'm going to remove the metal hood latch bracket that was on the old center grill section. We're including a new bracket that will fasten to the old bracket and the grill frame. The screw clips can be adjusted up or down slightly if needed. A little dab of adhesive on the screws will also help keep them in place long term. When looking at the grill face down, the screw left of center is the one to use for fastening our bracket in place. Applying adhesive to the bracket where it comes in contact with the grill will help its stability. Now, let's turn over the grill and check out our mesh installation to see how it turned out. Hey, that looks pretty good. Overall, this wasn't too difficult to install. The most important part is just keeping the attention to detail when cutting and making sure to apply the adhesive in all the right spots. I hope you liked this video. Feel free to contact me with any questions about it.